Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of the Karen Reed murder trial. Was it a murder trial? I don't think so. Well, it is a murder trial, but I don't think it was Karen Reed. Listening to all the evidence so far, up to date evidence, um, doesn't look like it's been pointing towards Karen Reed. Not sure. I don't even think we should be here at trial on this particular case, but here we are, here we are. Welcome to Crime Vlog Weekly. If this is the first time you joining us, thank you very much. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like, and share with your friends. Before this, I think we've got probably about another, before this video, we've probably got about another four or five, which should bring you up to date on what happened at the beginning and where we're at the moment. As you know, there were approximately, I think it's five or six pre pre-trial hearings. Um, one of them a couple of months ago was actually trying to throw the case out. The defense tried to get a motion to throw the case out because of lack of evidence, and nothing was pointing towards Karen Reed, really. This is from the defense side, but obviously the prosecution objected, give their reasons, and the judge sided with the prosecution, and the trial continues. This is now up to day 6 and 7 of the trial, and it's definitely looking good for Karen Reed's side, for the defense side. The, I should say the prosecution is struggling at the moment to show that it's Karen Reed who's responsible for the death of her boyfriend. Just to give you a little bit of history for those of you who's not up to date on this particular trial. Uh, Back in 2022, January 2022, on the 29th, between the 28th up to the 29th, a group of friends went out to some bars, as they say, bar hopping. The friends, some of them are friends, lots of them are police officers and police officers' wives or husbands, let's put it that way. They went out for drinking, and basically after that there was a decision made to go back to an after party at um, one of the police officers' homes. And what's happened since then, the officer, John O'Keefe, was later found on the front yard of Brian. Should I call the name? Yes, he should. Um, yes, one of the officer, John O'Keefe, was actually found in front of the yard, um, more or less unresponsive. Ambulance came, took him to the hospital, basically, and he was pronounced dead at the hospital. That's sort of rough update on that side. Since then, the prosecution uh, had charged, I have to say had charged Karen Reed, the girlfriend, with the with a hit and run charge. That's saying that she was drinking on the night. She got in an argument with John O'Keefe, and eventually she ran into him and knocked him over and drove off and left him there to die. This is what the prosecution had said. We will see evidence coming out a little bit later, which seems to be the motive seemed to be disappearing. Meanwhile, of course, Karen Reed had denied all charges, and months later, the charges was up to more or less second degree murder. So it went from the hit and run charges and leaving someone to die now up to second degree murder. She has been bailed. I think she's been, yeah, she was in custody for a few weeks. Since then, the I think the father has put up his house for sale, not for sale, but put up his house for bail, and she's out on bail of $80,000. Said again, she has denied the updated charges, and the court case has now finally started. We've gone into day five. I think now we're through. You did see a bit of the day six earlier on one of my videos. Now we're going to continue with day six, seven, and bringing you right up to date on on all the crime facts. Let's put it that way. Um, Once again, there doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence shown by the prosecution that Karen Reed is guilty of these charges. The prosecution is actually saying there's a third party who's responsible, who was not, has not been charged. Because apparently, I'm not sure if you know or if you haven't seen the other videos, there were at least 11 to 12 other people in the home on that night. And on the morning when John O'Keefe's body was found at the front yard, none of these people were interviewed, statements wasn't taken, photographs wasn't taken, and a lot of sloppy, I must say, a lot of sloppy detective work went on, and it doesn't look very good for the prosecution because just there's just too much sloppiness by the police. And as you know, the prosecution have to prove beyond doubt that Karen Reed is guilty of these charges. So, as I said, she continues to deny any charges and said she was set up. You know, basically, the setup is that all the police officers in the house is pointed. She's claiming that there was somehow there was some sort of fight in the house, and they something went wrong inside, and they've trying to frame Karen Reed. She did not actually attend in that house. She actually dropped him off. This is her claims. She dropped him off and went back to his place, which we've seen a video of that, where she got back to the home of John O'Keefe, and then she got into her SUV later on in the morning and went looking for him because he did come back home, and she called a couple of friends, and from there they all went searching looking for her. That's sort of nutshell of where we're at the moment. And I've seen the rest of it, so not going to give the story away, but I'm going to give you, firstly, I'm going to give you a clip of the 991 call of the morning back in January 2022. So I'm going to give you that. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, also the like button, and share this video with your friends. The name of the YouTube channel is Crime Vlog Weekly. There you go. Make a note of that, Crime Vlog Weekly, and of course, my name is Hartley. Okay, so as I said, and I promise you, I'm gonna give you a clip of the 991 call. So let's see if we can get that up and running for you. Let's have a look. It's a beautiful day here today in London. I forgot to actually say, yeah, that's where I am. I'm over here in London. It's absolutely a beautiful, beautiful day coming up as I can actually see the sunrise above. Okay, as promised you, here's the 991 call. It's very short, but listen out.
Yes, there's a man unresponsive in the snow.
Okay. Is he
He
cool at all?
said, you've got to get here, okay?
Okay. What's going on? Is he face down?
We just flipped him over.
Okay. And who's that in the background? Is that someone related?
Okay, that's his girlfriend. Her name is Donna Keith.
Catherine left.
There you go. Yeah, so that was the 911 call on the morning of January 29th, when the body of John O'Keefe was found on in the front yard. So that's the kick off this particular episode, and we're now going to play you some highlights of the day 6 and day 7 of the court hearing. So it's very interesting. So keep your close ears to this one.
And in 2002. This evidence can be considered by you insofar as it demonstrates or relates to the credibility of this witness and the thoroughness of the investigation into this case for which the defendant is currently on trial before you folks. You may use this evidence to the extent that you find it credible in deciding whether there was any bias or favoritism on the part of the police in their investigation in this case.
May I?
Mr. Jackson, yes.
Lieutenant Lang, I want to start by asking you about your relationship with certain members of the Albert family. Do you know any other members of the Albert family other than Brian Albert?
Yes.
Can you describe who those are?
Kevin Albert, who is a detective on our department. Chris Albert. And I know Tim Albert.
Are those three individuals brothers?
Yes.
Who is the eldest brother?
Brian.
How long have you known, I want to start first with Tim Albert. How long have you known Tim Albert?
I knew Tim Albert when he was a kid because he was friends with a younger brother of a friend of mine.
Starting at what age?
12.
So you've known
He was 12. I was probably 16 or so.
Okay. So the better part of your life, you've known Tim Albert.
Since about 16, I would say.
And what about Chris Albert?
Chris Albert I've known since junior high.
Which would be about what age?
13, 14,
You grew up
12,
with Chris?
12, 13. I was friendly with Chris from junior high through high school and into our 20s.
And friendly with Tim?
I wouldn't say, I was friendly to say hello to Tim. I didn't associate with him. He was younger. He was Chris's younger brother.
But you also knew Chris's older brother, Brian.
Yes.
Back in those days.
I knew who he was.
So you've known the three of them for basically your entire life.
No, I had met them. I had met Brian. I didn't know him other than just being Chris's older brother when we were younger kids.
Certainly with regard to Chris, you would consider him a close friend.
Consider who a close friend?
Chris. I'm
Yes.
using first names only because they're all
Sure, sure. Chris and I were pretty good friends.
Yes, where the defense is going there, they're trying to show that this police officer, his name is Michael Lang, they're trying to show that this police officer had more or less probable cause to be biased in the Karen Reed trial because he himself is best of friends with the homeowner. And I think that his name is Brian Albert, which you'll hear lots more of that later on. So basically, where the prosecution is actually going on this is that he did not investigate the case as he should, because of the connection with the homeowner, where John O'Keefe's body was found in the front yard. So there's lots more to come from this particular officer. So we're going to sort of move forward a little bit. Just say a little bit more introduction.
When we were younger, yes.
I want to draw your attention to an incident in August of 2002. Do you remember an incident in 2002 occurring with that involved Chris Albert?
Yes.
In 2002, in August of 2002 specifically, you were off duty, correct?
Yes.
You had been drinking alcohol, correct?
Yes.
You were approached by Chris Albert out in the parking lot, is that right?
That's correct.
And Chris Albert told you some information about being in a fight. That he had been in a fight or an altercation of some sort, correct?
He told me he had been in an altercation earlier in the night and some threats had been made to him and his family.
And you got out of your car and discussed this with Mr. Albert, correct?
No.
You just talked to him while you were seated in your car?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, did some other individuals approach that same area?
Yes.
Was there a fight that you believed was about to ensue?
Yes.
Did you get out of your car at that point?
I did.
Did you come to Chris's aid by, quote unquote, activating yourself as an officer?
I got out of my car and I approached the group and I pleaded with them to not fight tonight. I said, there's not going to be a fight tonight. There's 6 of you guys. He's here with his girlfriend. There's not going to be a fight tonight.
Did you come to Chris Albert's aid as best you could as a longtime friend of his?
I came to the aid of a citizen who was in fear and in need.
That citizen happened to be Chris Albert, whom you had known since you were 12 years old.
Correct.
Ultimately, a fight did break out, did it not?
Yes.
And you engaged in that fight.
Yes.
And again, you had been drinking alcohol at that point, correct?
Correct.
And you were off duty in August of 2002 during this fight.
Yes.
Just like you were off duty in 2022 when you were called by Sergeant Good to activate and come to the crime scene at 34 Fairview.
When Sergeant Good contacted me, I was not working. I was due to work at 7:45 that morning. When Sergeant Good contacted me and told me what was going on, then I activated myself and came to work because I was the detective sergeant.
And that's similar sort of activation, using that word in air quotes, it's similar sort of activation that you employed back in 2002 to assist Chris Albert.
No.
You did, in fact, call for someone to call the police and get some Canton officers over there, correct?
Excuse me. So in 2002?
In 2002.
Yes.
Okay. And I failed to ask you this, but in 2002, you were, in fact, a Canton police officer
Yes.
at the time. After the other officers arrived, did you order the other officers to handcuff or somehow restrain one of the 2 brothers that were involved in this fight with Chris?
No.
Ultimately, did you see whether or not those officers handcuffed or otherwise restrained one of the brothers that was involved in this fight?
Yes.
And did you then engage physically in a fight with the other brother who was not restrained?
No. The struggle had already occurred.
All right. So let me make sure I get the timing right. You did, in fact, engage in a physical fight with one of the brothers, correct?
Upon being struck, yes.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Upon being struck, yes.
And then you struck him back.
Yes.
You ended up on the ground.
Yes, we were wrestling, yes.
And ultimately, the other officers had to pull you off that man, correct?
No.
You ultimately, the fight was broken up between you and the other brother. Is that right?
That's correct.
All right. And that fight was broken up by the officers who were on scene.
Yes.
After this physical altercation with the the brother who was not ultimately restrained, both of the brothers and everybody else was just told by the officers, just go away, get out of here, go home, correct?
No, I believe one of the brothers left the scene, fled the scene, and the brother that was restrained was ultimately uncuffed and left free to go.
And nobody was arrested that night.
Correct.
Nobody chased down the brother that left the scene, correct?
That's correct.
And nobody arrested the brother that had been handcuffed.
Correct.
And no police reports were written by you or any of the other officers about this incident on that night.
I don't recall when the other officers wrote theirs. I did not write mine on that night.
The next day, you became aware that one or both of the brothers had arrived at Canton Police Department to file a formal complaint for having been physically attacked by you and some of the other officers involved, correct?
I don't recall when I was made aware that they had come down to the police station.
You are aware that there was a complaint sought against you for the physical attack that was alleged to have occurred, correct?
It was brought to my attention that they had come down to the police station.
And you also are aware that only after that complaint had been sought, the police reports were then dated and filed against the two brothers, correct?
So I had spoken to the sergeant on duty the night of the
Yes or
incident.
no question. I'm just looking at the
It's not a yes or no question.
So he was just asking you about dates. So can you answer the question? Ask the question
Could you
about the
repeat?
dates again, please.
I'm seeking the chronology of events. The fight occurs, a complaint against you occurs, and then police reports are filed against the two people that are complaining against you. Is that the chronology?
Yes.
And you're also aware that although he had been in a physical fight that night, no charges were ever brought against Chris Albert, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Do you know?
Okay, what's actually happening there is that this officer did the same thing with the Karen Reed trial. He, because of the connection with Brian Albert, the homeowner, where the body was found at the front yard, he again did not make reports, did not take evidence, did not instruct anyone to take photographs of the crime scene, which was the house obviously should have been part of it. So basically what the defense lawyer is trying to do is try to show connections that he is a biased police officer. So let's continue.
Know that?
I don't know. I don't even know where the fight occurred.
Officer Lang, what we just talked about, is that an example of you using your position as a police officer to come to the aid of one of the members of the Albert family?
It was me coming to the aid of a citizen who was terrified and scared for him and his family on that night.
Who happened to be
Who happened?
named what?
Excuse me, who happened to be Chris Albert.
You mentioned Kevin Albert. Who's he?
Kevin Albert is a detective with the Canton Police.
Is he a coworker?
Yes,
How long have you known him?
probably since 14, 15 years old.
And you also consider him to be a friend as well as a coworker
I do,
and a colleague.
yes.
And you're also well aware. I mean, you've said it already. He's the little brother of Brian Albert.
Correct.
And you're also aware that the reason that your department was ultimately recused from this investigation, Lieutenant Lank, is because of a perceived bias or conflict of interest between the Albert family and the Canton Police Department, correct?
Yes, there was a perceived bias.
Can you tell me one more time, now I want to fast forward to the incident in question. What was the exact time that you arrived at the location, if you know?
I believe it was around 6:24, 6:25.
Okay. And you indicated that that was in response to a call that you got from Sergeant Good.
Yes, that's correct.
What made you decide, or could you have decided, to take this particular call? Was it up to you, in other words?
I would never not take that call.
Okay, fair enough. So once you got the call, you knew that you were going to respond because there was something very serious afoot.
Correct.
Did you know at the time you got the call that that very serious incident was occurring at 34 Fairview?
No.
When did you realize that?
Upon speaking with Sergeant Good.
Okay, so Sergeant Good didn't, I guess that's what maybe I asked an inartful question. I was asking whether or not Sergeant Good told you before you actually arrived, he sort of had to have, that it's at 34 Fairview.
He did.
Okay. At that point, did a light bulb go off and you think to yourself, ding, that's the Albert House?
I don't recall if I realized it then or once I turned onto the street. I don't recall.
At some point before your car came to a stop, you knew this is 34 Fairview, this is the Albert household.
I knew that was Brian Albert's house, yes.
When you arrived, who was the ranking officer at the scene? You mentioned, obviously, we've heard these names, Sergeant Good, there's Officer Mullaney, there's Officer Seraph, you. Who was the ranking officer?
When I arrived, Sergeant Good was the ranking officer.
Okay. Yes, this particular officer should have really not been in charge of this case because he's just too much connections with the people at the house on that night. So his problems, it is definitely problems there. It's very problematic. Yet still, he refused to pull himself off the case. So can I give you a little bit more of his testimony?
To other witnesses?
No.
You thought that it was appropriate to let all the witnesses get together and just discuss the facts before you have an opportunity to interview them separately?
Objection.
Goes to the form.
I'm just letting the siren go on.
That's fine.
Lieutenant Lake, if you could direct your attention to the area that I highlighted earlier. Let's go ahead and play the video. Stop. Did you see anything occur at or around the car in the distance?
It appears to be somebody walking towards the house.
Was that Jim McKay?
I can't say for sure.
Do you see yourself, by the way, in this video?
Yes.
Where are you?
Right here.
Okay. You described sort of I don't know if it's tan or gray.
It's a gray North Face jacket with it's black on the top.
Okay. Toward the shoulders.
Yes.
All right. Let's go ahead and play the video, and I'll indicate another stopping place that I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about. Apologize. No, go. No, sorry. I'm standing in front of someone. Did you see another person shorter in stature approach you?
I believe right there. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Who is that?
I believe it's Kerry Roberts.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it. Pause it. Did you see yourself just exit screen right?
Yes.
Did it appear that you had something in your hand?
Yes.
You were taking a call
Yes.
on your cell phone.
Yes.
What was that call?
I don't recall. It could have, I can't see what time that is. I don't believe that I made the call to the CPAC unit until around 6:38, so I'm not sure who that call was from.
If you'll direct your attention, I think now down toward the camera below,
Yes.
you may see yourself enter the frame. Can we go ahead and play it?
Yeah, what you're seeing there, there's a phone call came into this Officer Lang. He was actually on this phone call for about 4 minutes, and the defense is trying to find out who that call came from. I think the defense think this call came from someone that went into the house. Apparently, they said that Jennifer McCall went into the house, and it looks like there was some sort of phone call made to this officer. So he's trying to point out this 4 to 5 minute phone call, and the witness itself is trying to avoid answering anything about this particular phone call, and this is where we're at with the video at present.
Go ahead and pause it. Does it appear you're on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Pause it. Did it appear that you walked off screen left?
Yes.
Still on the phone?
Yes.
Go ahead. Pause it. Did you see somebody following that same direction?
It looked like Officer Sarif.
Go ahead and play it.
Actually, I'm wrong because that's Officer Sarif right there, so I'm incorrect.
You think it might have been such a good,
Could we play it back?
with the court's permission?
Sure, go ahead.
Pause. You recognize that person?
Yes, I'm mistaken. That's Sergeant Good.
Okay, go ahead. Pause it. Does it appear that you've walked back into the frame?
Yes.
Are you followed by anybody?
I believe it's still Sergeant Good.
Are you speaking to Sergeant Good or are you walking away from him? Okay, you tell.
In that frame, it appears I'm standing right next to him.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it. Pause it. Did it appear you were sort of walking away from Sergeant Good off frame again?
Yes, it appears that I'm pacing.
Were you still on the phone?
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead. How's it? Directing your attention to the top video, do you see the SUV in the video?
Yes.
Does that SUV appear to be leaving the scene?
Yes.
Do you know who was in that video? In that SUV?
I believe it's going to be Kerry Roberts and Karen Reed.
Okay, go ahead and play it. How's it? At that point, are you walking back into the frame on the lower video?
Yes.
At this point, Lieutenant, are the lights on at 34 Fairview on or off?
They still appear to be off.
And at some point while you were at the scene, did the lights come on? I think you testified to that earlier.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to pay special attention to that moment and maybe tell me to stop when you see those lights come on. It may be a minute or so.
Sure.
At this point, does it appear that you're still on the phone?
Yes.
How's it? At this point, is there anything that changed in the scene?
Yes.
What's that?
It appears that there's now a light on inside the home.
And at this point, Ms. McCabe has been inside the house for approximately how long, if you could estimate?
Maybe 3 minutes.
And are you still on the phone? Or have you ended that call?
I can't tell if I'm still on the phone at that point. I know that right around this time is when I end up speaking to the CPAC unit, because I believe I get into the vehicle.
Let's play just a little bit further forward, maybe another 30 seconds or so. Does it appear at this point, if you can see, does it appear that you've ended that call, or at least your hands are down by your side?
I can't tell.
Okay. You would agree with me, that's all I have for that. You would agree with me that that was, without counting the seconds, that was about a 5-minute phone call, or maybe a little better than 5 minutes.
I wasn't watching, to be honest.
Do you have any idea who you were talking to now that you've seen that?
I could make an educated guess, but I don't know for sure.
You did notice that several minutes after Jim McCabe went in the house, and while you were on that phone call, the lights finally came on at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
At the point the lights came on, the ladder truck had already gone, left from the scene, correct? The fire engine.
I believe so.
The firefighters are all gone.
Yes.
The ambulance has already left and transported Mr. O'Keefe.
Yes.
The paramedics are gone, the EMTs.
Yes.
The fire captain and his SUV, that's gone. Is that right?
I'm sorry, was there a question?
The fire captain and his SUV, that's gone.
I'm not sure.
In other words, all the fire and EMTs.
I don't see them on camera.
Doesn't appear that any fire or EMTs are still on scene, correct?
Doesn't appear so.
Kerry Roberts is gone.
Yes.
Karen Reed is gone.
Yes.
So when the only parties left at the scene are members of the Albert family, Jen McCabe, and the Canton Police Department representatives, that's when the lights inside 34 Fairview finally came on.
Okay.
Is that yes?
Yes.
And then minutes after that call, you did then speak to CPAC. I'm sorry, to dispatch, correct?
CPAC dispatch.
Right, I was getting to that. It was dispatch, and the dispatch was to CPAC, not to Canton PD.
Correct.
And at some point, did CPAC dispatch indicate that they were on their way, they had declined the call? What was that call all about?
So there are two separate calls.
Your Honor.
Sustained.
Who did you talk to at CPAC?
I don't recall who handled the first call at dispatch.
Okay, do you remember having a conversation with Kelly Dever?
No.
Okay.
I think we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about CPAC dispatch, not Canton Police dispatch.
Okay, fair enough.
Talking about CPAC dispatch, not Canton Police dispatch.
Okay, fair enough. At some point, did you have a conversation with, well, let me ask it this way. I just don't know. Did you talk to both Canton Dispatch and CPAC Dispatch?
I definitely spoke to CPAC dispatch.
And okay,
I'm not sure if I spoke to Canton dispatch or not.
all right. At some point, did you say, did you indicate to one or the other, I'm responding to 34 Fairview, we have a Boston police officer who was just found?
I stated that I was already at 34 Fairview.
You indicated
I
that he
believe.
does have some trauma to his head area, correct?
That's correct.
And you said, quote, I'm not sure if he's been in a fight or whatever. Our medics don't believe he's going to make it,
Correct.
end quote. Sergeant Lang, you never saw John O'Keefe's body, correct?
Correct.
So somebody disclosed to you that it appeared that he had been in a, quote, fight or whatever, at least at that point. That was your thought.
No.
And what made you say, well, you didn't say to dispatch, the victim appears to have been shot, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say it appeared that he'd been stabbed.
No.
He had been strangled.
No.
You didn't say it appeared he'd been hit by a car.
Correct.
You said it appeared that he'd been in a fight or whatever, correct?
I stated that he had some trauma to his head, and I said, I don't know if he has been in a fight, and then I believe I described it as I don't remember my exact terminology, but it was a crazy scene. Correct.
Okay. I want to talk about inside the house for just a few minutes, if I could. You've talked extensively about the crime scene outside, and we'll get to that in a second, but I want to talk about what did or did not happen inside the house. Did you actually make it inside the house at some point?
Yes.
Okay. When was that? How long? Let's use Jennifer McCabe as the time frame. How long after that did you?
There you go. That's a bit of crossing there by the defense lawyer Jackson. He was probing into the actions there of this Michael Lang, the head detective, on that morning. When he made a phone call back to his dispatch, he actually said the gentleman that was taken to hospital looked as though he was he was in some sort of fight, And if you notice that the defense lawyer stuck on that bit for quite a while, because it is said that Karen struck him with a car, and the incident looks like a hit and run. This in actual fact, this is what she was charged for at the beginning, and then, as I said, they upped it to second degree murder. But this officer wasn't there at the time when John O'Keefe's body was there. The ambulance had already taken him by the time he arrived. So one of the other officers said to him that it looks like John O'Keefe was in some sort of fight. Yet still, as we know, Karen Reed is on trial for murdering her boyfriend, and the reason being saying that she was drunk, she was driving, she drove, they had an argument, and she ran into him. So this Michael Lank, the head police there at the Kenton Police Department, definitely trying to avoid certain questions there by the by Alan Jackson, the defense lawyer. So we're going to continue. We're going to continue with the evidence there.
Finally go inside the house after she'd been in the house.
So it was specifically just after I got off the phone with CPAC.
So just a few minutes after we ended that video.
Yes,
And you walked you said either along the driveway or through the yard.
I believe it was up the driveway.
Okay. Once you went in the house, you made contact with the individuals in the house, correct?
Yes,
And you believed, at least at that point, that there was a potential that there was a, let me rephrase that. You knew that you were dealing with a violent incident, correct?
no.
You thought maybe it was just a heart attack?
I didn't know what it was. At that point in time, I didn't know what it was. Could have been a multitude of things.
But what was going through your mind at that point was it could have been a fight or whatever, because he had trauma to his head. Those were your words.
Those were my words, yes.
Okay. So you didn't think it was like some old man who died of old age, right?
Based on his age, no, I wouldn't have suspected that.
You didn't think it was an accidental drowning or something.
Again, it could have been a multitude of things to cause those injuries. So at that point in time, we had no idea what we were looking at.
But you were aware that it had something to do with a violent incident. He had trauma to his face and he's unconscious, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did you believe that there were any indicators that Mr. O'Keefe had been involved in some sort of a physical altercation?
Possibly.
Okay. And that's because you used the phrase, he had trauma to his face and head, right?
That's what I had been told, yes.
So based on what you had been told, you knew that there was a person laying out unconscious just outside a residence that may have been involved in a physical altercation. That's fair.
It's a possibility, yes. But again, there were a multitude of things that were going through my head as possibilities.
But that's one of the premier possibilities, right?
I wouldn't say it's premier, it was one of the possibilities.
And it's logical to believe that if a fight had occurred, very well may have started inside the residence 30 feet away.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did you believe in your mind that it was possible, given the fact that a violent confrontation was possible in your mind, that it could have started inside the house?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach?
Yes.
Given what you believed at the time and the possibility that there was a fight or whatever, did you logically think in your mind, your state of mind was it possibly could have started in the house,
If it had been of confrontation, it could have started anywhere.
right? The house is part of anywhere, right?
Correct.
So in other words, the house is not excluded in your mind at that point as a starting point for the investigation. Is that right?
Well, the starting point would have been where Mr. O'Keefe had been discovered, and then based on speaking with the witnesses, there was no indication that he had ever made it into the house.
Well, you didn't know that until you followed up on your investigation, correct?
I learned that by speaking to Ms. McCabe.
So you just took Ms. McCabe's word for it.
At that point in time, that was the only person I had spoken to, and she gave me a timeline of events from that night where Mr. O'Keefe was supposed to come back to the house, but never made it.
Have you ever been, in your course of investigating cases, have you ever been lied to by a witness?
Objection, Your Honor.
Can you answer that? Have you ever been lied to by a witness?
Yes.
So it's not necessarily the best investigative technique to just take a witness's word for something, correct?
Objection.
That's sustained.
You need to actually investigate the circumstances for yourself and to your own satisfaction. Is that a fair statement?
Sure.
One of those investigative techniques would be to walk into the house and figure out who's who there, correct?
Can you rephrase the question?
Sure. One of those investigative techniques to satisfy yourself that you're actually getting to the truth of the matter would be to walk into the house and figure out who's in the house first.
I will agree that I needed to speak to the people in the home. I can't just walk in their house. I have to announce myself, and they don't have to let me in.
I understand. I'm not trying to parse those words. I just mean entering the home and interviewing witnesses. That would be a normal part of your investigation initially, correct?
Yes.
And you also knew that the most obvious place to look for witnesses that may have information about a fallen man in the snow would be 30 feet away in the home, correct?
Correct.
So once you're inside the residence, you walked in the front door, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that there's a stair that serves as the second.
Okay, definitely some sort of bias going on here because this officer got all his information about the timeline from the beginning to when Officer O'Keefe was found on the front yard. It all came from Jennifer McCarp. This is one of the family members of the police family, let's put it that way. And the only evidence that he's got came mainly from Jennifer. She gave the narrative and he followed it through. Because he is biased with this particular case, he refused to take evidence on that night from each person in the house, as well as photographs, and also check upstairs, downstairs, and other parts of the house. Most cases, in situations, or should we say, most crime scenes are normally checked out thoroughly, and also they put their tapes, the incident tapes around to stop anyone from interfering or changing the crime scene from what actually happened, and leave it open for at least 12 to 24 hours, sometimes even longer. None of this was done by this officer, so this is why there's so much dependent on this officer's evidence. So it seems like a very biased police officer there. So we're going to continue.
Second floor, is that right?
Straight ahead, yes.
Right. Just before the staircase, there's a door to your left, right?
I don't recall.
You remember whether or not there's a door that when you open it, goes directly downstairs to the basement?
I don't recall.
You indicated on direct examination that you didn't notice anything, I'm paraphrasing, so forgive me. You didn't notice anything out of place in the home.
No.
But you didn't go downstairs to the basement and look, did you?
No.
Didn't look for broken furniture down there.
I didn't enter the basement at all.
You didn't look for torn clothing down there.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
How about anywhere in the house? Did you look for broken furniture or torn clothing or blood evidence or DNA evidence?
At that point in time, I never made it past the front foyer area.
So the answer to my question is no, you did not.
I never made it past the front foyer area.
So if I were to ask you one more time, I know you never made it past the foyer. Did you ever investigate the foyer area or any other part of the house for evidence of a fight?
The only area I was able to observe at that point, everything appeared to be in order.
But you didn't search the rest of the house for a fight, Lieutenant. That's all I'm asking.
No, I wouldn't have had probable cause to do so.
And did you seek guidance from a court as to whether or not you might have probable cause?
Do you mean a search warrant?
That's what I mean.
I wouldn't fill out an affidavit for a search warrant because it wouldn't have probable cause.
In your mind, there was no PC to search that house, right?
Objection.
It would be to remove the witnesses and animals from that premises to sort of freeze it and lock it down, correct?
If there's reason to do so, yes.
Okay. Were the witnesses in this case asked to come outside the house in order to freeze the house down as a potential crime scene?
No.
Were any animals removed in order to freeze and lock down the house as a potential crime scene?
I didn't observe any animals.
Did you, and this is the last question on this issue, did you do anything to lock down and secure that premises, the inside of the house, in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
Can you rephrase that, please?
Sure. Did you do anything to lock down and secure that premises in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
No.
Okay, there you go. This officer, Michael Lang, very biased, should have actually recused himself away from this particular case. He didn't, because he surely knows everyone in that house. Too much close connections. He did not investigate. Sloppy, I must say. Well, let's say the motive disappeared. The motive has disappeared. There was no reason for Karen Reed to be angry and reverse her vehicle into her boyfriend and killing him and running away. That hasn't been proven as yet. So this officer is very much biased. There's things he should have done to secure the crime scene. He didn't. Most cases, usually, this is done. So he's got lots to answer to. And as we're saying at the moment, there is an FBI investigation into this complete case. So we're at the point where we're saying, why is this case at trial? Anyhow, this is it. We're going to end the video here. I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. My name is Hartley. This is Crime Vlog Weekly. I think this is probably the 4th video we've done on the Karen Reed trial, and we will be bringing you more as it comes up. I think we've got number 7 and 8 to come up for you. So we will see you definitely on the next video. Hope you guys have a nice day. We have got a fantastic day here in London today. That's where I am, in London. So we're gonna say bye-bye until then. I'm now finally going to say free Karen Reed. She's definitely not guilty of the charges. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.